So let's talk about this Mark Robinson situation. For the uninitiated, Mark Robinson is the lieutenant governor of the great state of North Carolina. That's his first elected office. He rose to prominence on a viral video a few years back where he spoke at a meeting where he took up a fiery defense of the Second Amendment of all things. He's a very charismatic speaker in his own way. He has a lot of, personal charisma in a room. He's a large personality. He's a large guy. You can see on video where he can get a crowd and grab a crowd and get attention. Problem is, once you get past that and the buzzwords and all the sloganeering that he has adapted for his political persona, there's a lot of really problematic stuff in his background. This was all known. It was very open stuff on things like Facebook accounts and other social media. His problem was saying things that are really bad, really questionable, and really tell a lot about the man's character was all out there. But because, like a lot of other people, he put on the trappings of the modern Trump movement, the MAGA wing of the GOP, he shot to stardom and he won the lieutenant governor's race. Now he's running for governor against Josh Stein, who's the sitting attorney general, Roy Cooper being term limited. Now that's the background. So there's been a little bit of a drip of all this past stuff that he said in the past, and it's not good stuff. He said anti-Semitic things. He has said things in church settings that come off very fiery preacher-like, but if you're not from that background, you can immediately go, yeah, you shouldn't say stuff like that. He said things like some folks just need killing. Well, yeah, there's some very specific situations where that may be true, but a politician talking about political opponents, that's probably not a way to do it. He's also gone hard into the culture war stuff, especially things like transgender issues, things like this. So that all brings us up to the modern story and what started breaking from a story on CNN. But the core value of our program is things don't happen in a vacuum, they happen in a sequence. The sequence of events of how this story came out is very important. We now know that CNN, K-File, Andrew Kaczynski, they had been working on this story for a while. They had informed Mark Robinson, at least his campaign or his surrogates, that they were going to go public with this story and wanted his comment. They would give him 48 hours, a couple days before it actually came out. Mark Robinson kind of ignored him on it, and then the day it comes out, he agreed to do a sit-down pre-taped interview, which came out as part of the rollout package on this piece. So here's how this works. CNN, everybody knew this story was coming out. Conservative media in North Carolina started trying to get in front of it by posting their own stories about it. Places like the Carolina Journal, which is a conservative publication. Full disclosure, I have friends there. I think they do good work. I've appeared on a couple podcasts with them a couple of years ago. They probably vote for Trump, but they're not super Trumpy. They're a little bit more moderate. They're pretty down the middle on the old conservative movement, what it used to mean. So when they ran a piece early in the afternoon about what was coming out from Mark Robinson, that should have told you something, because that's conservative media trying to get ahead of what was coming. They knew, and they also knew that some of this stuff was out there. The rumors and innuendos been out there for a while. They just didn't know the specifics of this particular story. So sure enough, come about 3:30, CNN releases it online, and then Jake Tapper leads off the 4 o'clock block of his program with it. So you leak it online, you get the buzz going, then you do the segment. The segment did include Mark Robinson's comments, and he also put out a comment online where he denied everything, said he didn't do it. And then in his pre-tape, he talked about how, well, there's things like AI. We don't know how people do this. Look, K-File that put this out, and somebody else also helped with the writing, but that's somebody who's, pretty well respected across the board. They didn't just make this up. They got it from somewhere. They investigated it. They've matched up the screen names and all this stuff. Yes, Mark Robinson did this. He is not a victim here. It is really grotesque stuff. I'm not going to repeat it here. You can go find it on your own. It was a message board for a porn site and not a name brand porn site. It was a very specific porn site that had a lot of really dark, nasty, ugly stuff on it. The point of the story is not just the stuff that Mark Robinson said, although it's vile, disgusting, and should have been disqualifying, but he said a lot of disqualifying things and people just plowed ahead anyway. Once again, things don't happen in a vacuum. Once again, sequence of events. Why is this coming out now? Because here's the truth. He was already losing to Josh Stein. He's going to lose this election badly. He may lose it by double digits, and that's before this came out. So why is this coming out? Well, there's a couple reasons. One is people want Mark Robinson to not get in elected office as a governor, lieutenant governor. He can only do so much damage. There's also some reports out there you can chase down where Roy Cooper may or may not have told the Kamala Harris campaign he didn't want to be considered for VP because he didn't want to be out of the state where Mark Robinson could run rampant with some shenanigans. This story is very interesting because when you have the conservative movement going after Robinson, what does that tell you? This is more than just a 2024 election story. There's stuff going on behind the scenes here. You notice also in a day that somebody on Twitter, and I would credit them, but I didn't ask permission, so I won't name them, named that this particular news cycle between Mark Robinson and Matt Gaetz having some more stuff come out about some of his alleged activities. It was too much information day online. This is not accidental stuff. As this election starts to approach, understand that the real power plays aren't just looking at 2024. They're already looking ahead to 2026. 2028. So there are people in the Republican Party who know that right now, before this election, they have an opportunity to do a little bit of house cleaning before you go into the midterms of 2026 and the next presidential cycle in 2028. Because remember, even if Trump gets elected, he can't run again. He'll probably try, but he can't run again. He's a lame duck the second he gets in there, and the next election starts the moment this one ends, which should be election day, but will probably be a week or two after by the time we litigate it all to pieces. So underneath this Mark Robinson story, I want you to do something with the news coming up. Pay attention to how people are reacting on this. There's a little bit of cleaning house and a little bit of power struggle and a little bit of maneuvering going on here that goes beyond this election. Mark Robinson was already losing it, and he's blaming the Josh Stein campaign and the liberal media and all that. I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff's coming from conservative and GOP circles. They want people like Mark Robinson out of the way. Keep an eye on this sort of thing. You're going to see more and more of it, especially if the GOP loses the House. The establishment Republicans, the more traditional ones, they are just itching to start blaming some of these really crazy MAGA candidates, rightfully so, by the way, for losing the majority and for having a thin majority to start with and for losing the presidential election and losing some winnable Senate seats. How you doing, Kari Lake? You're blowing Arizona. If you elect these really bad candidates, and they did it again in 2020, Mehmet Oz, remember Dr. Oz ran from the, remember the nut job in Pennsylvania? Yeah, you can't just run bad candidates. And the real power players in the GOP who know how these things work, look at people like Mark Robinson, look at them already losing, understanding that election is over. And now they've decided maybe it's time to put a headshot into some of these people and make sure that they don't come back politically ever again. That's why you're going to start seeing some airing of dirty laundry, and it's not all going to be coming from the left. Some of it's going to be friendly fire. It will be leaked to the liberal media, in their terminology, for the cover of it, and people will even try to position Trump to be against some of these people because that's how you really get them to be kind of banished into the neither regions. These are the machinations you pay attention to with the headlines. It's not just what you're seeing. It's why you're seeing it, when you're seeing it, and who's presenting it that way for you to see it that way. There's no such thing as a leak, folks. People didn't leak anything here. People sent this information to CNN and K-File and to the Carolina Journal and other places because they want it out there. One of the things about being a discerning news consumer is start figuring out those sorts of things. So when the news story breaks that something got leaked, find out who leaked it, why, and who benefits from it, and then you start figuring out what's really going on with it. A lot of this 2024 election is going to be ugly, and it's going to be a lot of interpersonal warfare of people that don't like each other, not just the politics. Mark Robinson is a very bad person. He's unfit for office. I hope he doesn't win. But also there's a lot of politics involved. The NCGOP came out and supported him despite this, even though there's people in the NCGOP that are actively trying to make it happen that he loses. Ain't politics fun?
All the music on Heard Tell is provided under a Creative Content license from monstercat.com.
Somos la máquina.